Здравствуйте, уважаемые друзья. Утро, за бортом минус 10. И давно у нас не было американских новостей на английском языке, утренних. Поэтому слушаем, что там говорят американцы про то, что происходит в Штатах и, возможно, за пределами Штатов.
1079 WVPS Burlington and at vpr.org. Special coverage begins now.
This is special coverage from NPR News. I'm Michelle Martin. Today begins the first open hearing of the House impeachment inquiry. 2 witnesses will appear before the House Intelligence Committee: William Taylor, the acting U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, and George Kent, the Deputy Assistant Secretary at the State Department overseeing European and Eurasian affairs. These are 2 high-level officials with close knowledge of the United States' diplomatic relationship with Ukraine. Because the question here is whether President Trump's dealings with Ukraine constitute an impeachable offense. Leading the impeachment inquiry is the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Democrat Adam Schiff. Here he is speaking with NPR in advance of the hearing.
I don't think any decision has been made on the ultimate question about whether articles of impeachment should be brought. That will be the purpose of these hearings and the subsequent work done in the Judiciary Committee. But on the basis of what the witnesses have had to say so far, there are any number of potentially impeachable offenses, including bribery, including high crimes and misdemeanors.
Over the next several hours, we will be bringing you the hearing live. Here in the studio with me is senior Washington editor and correspondent Ron Elving. And on Capitol Hill is congressional correspondent Susan Davis. Welcome to you both. Thank you for being here.
Hey, Michelle.
Good to be with you.
So, Stu, I'm going to start with you. Can you just walk us through the agreed-upon process for today's hearing?
Well, one of the big changes that you're going to see in the impeachment hearing this morning is they passed a resolution a few weeks back that would essentially give the chairman and the top Republican on the committee more time to question witnesses. If you've ever watched these high-profile hearings before, there's this sort of ping-pong effect back and forth between the Republican and Democratic sides. Can sometimes make it hard to follow, or questioning can go off in tangents. They have changed this so Adam Schiff and the top Republican on the committee can ask questions for up to 45 minutes. That is a dramatic departure from the usual 5-minute limits that you have on questioning. The intention of that rules change was to make it easier for the public to follow what's going on and to allow the chairman more ability to control the narrative, to control the questioning, and to sort of set the terms of the hearing without letting it go off the rails.
And we expect much of the early questioning to be done by lawyers that the lawmakers have brought in. And that's unusual also, isn't it, Sue? And can you tell us about these lawyers? What do we know about them?
It's not highly unusual, it's just rare, but committees do have this authority to rely on staff counsel. We did see this once before in another high-profile hearing where Republicans for a time employed counsel to question Brett Kavanaugh during the Supreme Court hearings. Essentially, the lawmakers can defer to counsel to continue the questioning or to ask specific questions. We do know that these counsels are the staffers that have led most of the depositions that were taking place behind closed doors in the sort of private stage of this investigation, which now today turns public. These are not figures that the public will really know. These are, one is a career staffer on Capitol Hill. The Democratic counsel came from the Southern District of New York as a former U.S. attorney. So these are skilled, practiced questioners and are given a very high-profile job today.
And Ron, the fact is that if you've been following this, we have a pretty good idea of what each person, Taylor and Kent, will testify to because of the transcripts that we have seen. Can you just remind us about the substance of what they've had to say?
William Taylor has made clear that while he was trying to run our affairs as the person in charge in Ukraine, he became aware that there was an entirely side channel going on, and that through Rudy Giuliani, his personal attorney, President Trump was engaged in other forms of contact at very high levels in the Ukrainian government. George Kent essentially was told to, quote, lay low, stay out of this. I know you're supposed to be in charge of Eastern European and Eurasian affairs as the deputy to the Secretary of State, but just stay out of it. This isn't your affair, George. You should just keep your hands clean. And these gentlemen were both willing to testify to that. They were both willing to come before these committees while they were behind closed doors, give these depositions, know that they were going to be taken down verbatim, know that they were going to be released at some point, and know that they were going to eventually be susceptible of being called into a public sessions just like what we're about to see.
So what are the goals for the Democrats heading into today?
Well, I think most Democrats believe that they have what they need to move forward with articles of impeachment with the president. I think the phase of this public hearing is largely driven at making the public understand why they, why they believe that they have those. We have seen the public sentiment be fairly divided in this country on the question of impeachment. The polls have indicated the public has moved in the direction of Democrats, saying an investigation is warranted. Many Americans saying impeachment is already warranted, but it's still a divided question, and there are a lot of political risks. You know, impeachment is a political process. This is not a criminal trial, and Democrats are putting forward a very political process that could only further divide a very divided country over Donald Trump.
And very briefly, we see one of the witnesses being sworn in, so I'm going to ask you very briefly, what are the Republicans' goals going into today?
I think that they need to present a defense of the president. The line that we've heard from Republicans essentially is that the president has done nothing wrong, that he was enacting a foreign policy that he felt was right, and these are career government bureaucrats who didn't like it. And the fact that they didn't like it is not an impeachable offense. There has been almost no cracks in Republican unity on Capitol Hill. It would be really remarkable if we start to see any chips in that unity. The president has made very clear that he views all matters on impeachment a question of party unity. He has been essentially demanding Republicans stay behind him, and we'll see that today.
C. Davis, thank you, and we are going to go live now to the hearing as it begins.
Ну, друзья мои, новости, собственно, не получились. Вся новость была посвящена тому слушанию, когда будет допрошено два высокопоставленных представителя госслужбы США на предмет связи, скажем так, предыдущей администрации с украинскими властями и, соответственно, что Трамп давил на Украину для того, чтобы украинская власть подтвердила, что Джо Байден, один из ведущих кандидатов демократической партии на пост президента, его сын, они активно были замешаны в всяких разных коррупционных скандалах на территории США, на территории Украины, и, соответственно, что Дональд Трамп сказал, что если Украина даст показания, скажем так, в интересах Дональда Трампа, то тогда США выделит Украине какой-то там большой денежный транш. И, в общем, сейчас начинается самое слушание. Вот, извините, что такие новости получились. Всем откланиваюсь, всем хорошего дня и счастливо. Пока.